It's commonly stated that economists can't agree on anything. And that's not really true. In microeconomics and long run economics, we agree on quite a bit. But where it is somewhat true is macroeconomics and the economics of short run market fluctuations. Here we have all different kinds of competing schools of thought. And in this section of our macroeconomics course, what we're going to do is we're going to start to sift through some of these schools and how they've developed over time and how they've morphed and changed and what the main debates really are still existing between these schools of thought and why there still is debate among economists as to what happens in the short run. How does an economy go into recession, come out of a recession? All of these short run questions, these macroeconomic questions, are still very much so up for debate. And that's where the idea that economists can't agree on anything comes from. So first up, what we're going to do is we're going to cover the classical economists, and we're going to look at the self-corrective mechanism and the quantity theory of money. In this video, however, we're just going to introduce the classical school, or the essence of the classical school, with the self-corrective mechanism and the quantity theory of money by talking about a concept called the efficient market hypothesis. So what is the efficient market hypothesis? The efficient market hypothesis is this idea that publicly traded assets have a price that reflects all publicly available information. If you don't have insider information, you can't beat the market. You can't systematically outperform markets as a whole over time. To understand how this is, I think the best way to go about this is just to see an example of the efficient market hypothesis idea in practice. So imagine that you own some Disney stock, and Disney comes out and they have a press release where they say, hey, we're going to release Avengers 24. And everybody knows that Avengers 24 is going to end up being this great movie success. It's going to be this great financial success, and it's going to help out the Disney company. It's going to be a great boom to them. And so we think that Disney's stock price should go up in the future. The value has just risen. We know that, hey, they've undertaken this project, and we know this project is going to be this great success. Well, what do people do when they hear this information, when they find out this information? What do you think happens to the stock price during this time period? Well, if a asset becomes more valuable, like Disney stock, well, then you're going to buy more of that Disney stock. That company has now become more valuable. The demand for that good has basically shifted out. We're going to buy more of that. We're going to purchase more. And so what happens as we buy more of something? Just like in a microeconomic market, as the demand shifts out, the price is going to rise. So if you know that you own Disney stock and the current price of it is 100, but the announcement of the new Avengers movie that we know is going to be a success is going to raise the value of each unit of stock for the Disney company to $110 in 3 months when the movie trailers start rolling out. What do? Well, if in 3 months the price is going to go from 100 to 110, man, you should buy some stock right now. And as you buy that stock right now, what happens is the demand curve within that market is shifting out. And so what we have is we have an increased price, right? So you're going to keep buying stock at $100. If in 3 months you can turn every $100 you have into 110, that's a great deal. You should take all your money that you can and put it into that investment if you know for sure that it's turning into $110. But the problem is that as you do that, and as other people do that, as investors do that, the price is rising. Now, when would the price stop rising? Well, even if the price gets up to $109, if you know that you can turn $109 into $110 for sure in just 3 months, that's still a really good investment. So people are going to continue to buy the Disney stock even at a price of $109. When does this kind of rise in price stop? Well, it doesn't stop until it reaches the $110 if we adjust for time valuations and things like that. You're going to keep purchasing until 110 is at 110. So what's the current stock price then? The current stock price should be that 110. It should reflect all available information. It already incorporates future gains into the current price. So the price system here is adjusting to all information. It's gathering all this information and creating this really efficient outcome here. We're estimating what the future price will be. And the best estimate as to what the future price will be is the current price because of this. Now, there's different versions of the efficient market hypothesis, and we're not really going to get into that here, but there's, sometimes a weaker version and a stronger version of the efficient market hypothesis. But all we need for this class is the basic concept that the price system is incorporating all of this different information and adjusting people's behavior accordingly. So to recap, one definition of the efficient market hypothesis is that the prices of traded assets reflect all publicly available information. Without inside information, one cannot systematically outperform the market as a whole over time. The idea of the efficient market hypothesis is that investors have no opportunity of obtaining abnormal profits from capital market transactions because they cannot beat the market. All information, future and past, is captured in the current price. The price adjusts the current state of the economy to the relevant information that exists. The key takeaway for classical macro with the efficient market hypothesis is this idea that the price system adjusts economic activity towards efficient levels. This is the parallel to classical macro. The idea that the price mechanism is so important in adjusting the economy. The classical economists are going to see the adjustments of the macroeconomy as performing quite well because of the wonders of the price system. The price mechanism and the adjustments within it are what will be the driving guide to maintain efficient macroeconomic outcomes for the classical macroeconomists. All right, so in this video, we're introducing the idea of classical macroeconomics, the self-corrective mechanism, and the quantity theory of money. And we're going to be focusing all on how the price system adjusts the macroeconomy. So in this intro lecture, we talked about the efficient market hypothesis and how even in stock markets, you can't beat the market. The price is efficient. For more in this lecture series, click on the video link and you'll continue on to learn more about classical macroeconomics.